Shalom and greetings from Jerusalem, Jane. I'm gonna share some devastating news with you. I just came home, sat down here on my couch. It's a beautiful sunny day, but in here we are just all hurting and traumatized. Not only from the horrendous atrocities that has happened in the Jewish nation since October 7 and the rapes and the murder and all the things, and now the testimony coming out of the conditions the hostages have been held in and the things that was done to them. But this morning, I want to show you a certain lady this morning. This is Livia. I hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly. Beautiful, beautiful 24-year-old woman here in her wedding photo. This morning, she was waiting for the bus in Jerusalem, in one of the entrances to Jerusalem. Two Palestinian Arab terrorists affiliated with Hamas had taken their car and they came from East Jerusalem out to the entrance in the other end of the city. And they get out of their car and they started firing, executing people who were standing waiting for the bus. And this young, beautiful 24-year-old woman was brutally murdered, together with the unborn baby in her stomach. That report just came out now. In total, 3 people were murdered. This beautiful 24-year-old woman, a woman in her 60s, and then a man, 73-year-old, murdered by Hamas members in the streets in Jerusalem this morning. Right now, 2 of those 3 funerals are taking place. It is so devastating, I can't even describe it. There has been other terror attacks at that specific bus stop here in Jerusalem. A couple of hours later, there was another terror attack when the terrorists opened fire at some soldiers down in the Jordan Valley, and they were injured and other soldiers managed to neutralize this terrorist. I'm sending my deepest condolences to the families of these 3 precious people who was brutally murdered in the streets of Jerusalem this morning. Hamas has taken responsibility. Hamas, well, can you say they broke the truce, the humanitarian ceasefire? Well, right now, there is still 1 more day left. 10 Israeli hostages are going to be released today. Around 4 o'clock, we will see the other days. It has been delayed. Then there was a report saying that there will also be released the bodies of 3 victims. We don't know who that is. We don't know the bodies of which 3 victims they said they will also release. What we do know is that there were some soldiers who was killed in the October 7 attacks and their bodies were taken into the Gaza Strip. We also know that yesterday Hamas went out and said that the precious family with the 2 young boys, 10-month-old Kefir and 4-year-old big brother and his mother and dad, who was held captive, Hamas all of a sudden said that they had been killed, mom and 2 babies, but that has not been confirmed. So we are all holding our breath to see when this exchange happened today, what hostages are going to be released, and if indeed they will release the bodies of victims. So it's a very, very difficult time here in Israel. I can't even explain to you. We are so traumatized and hurt and injured from all the things that happened, and then waking up this morning to see that it was 2 brothers from East Jerusalem affiliated with Hamas. Both of them have served time in prison before, involved in terrorism, who took their cars and they drove across the city. They have Israeli ID. They came in with a car with Israeli license plate. And I shared the video. If you follow my Telegram channel, I shared the video where you actually see the terror attack. 2 off-duty soldiers was at that place. And together with an armed civilian, they managed to shoot these 2 terrorists. 2 of these 2 soldiers were actually home. They had been in war in Gaza, but now with the ceasefire, they got a 12-hour leave. And all of a sudden, they are finding themselves in the midst of a terror attack. So they had been fighting Hamas inside the Gaza Strip, and now in the streets of Jerusalem, they are fighting 2 Hamas terrorists, murdering 3 civilians. This terror attack took place just before 8 a.m. Close by, there is a school for religious girls, and they had all came in, all the children, the girls had arrived for the first class that was about to begin at 8 o'clock. But in their classroom, in the area around the school, they actually heard the shooting. So when their teacher came, they were like, we can't concentrate, we need to go over there. So for those of you who just recently started following me since the onslaught on October 7 and all of the atrocities, you don't know that I have been living here for nearly 10 years, and to the best of my ability, I have reported about every single terror attack that happened here in Israel. You don't hear about it in your mainstream media because it's just another terror attack in Israel. But we have cried and cried and cried over the funerals of dead children, of murdered grandparents, of murdered parents being executed in their car in front of the children in the back seat, or being executed while walking in the street, or, as you saw today, waiting at a bus stop. I have been reporting about this for years and years. The list goes on and on and on and on. But I know that a lot of you haven't heard about it in your mainstream media, and you just recently started following me. But for me, it has been so important that their names and that their faces are getting out. So what happens here in Israel when there's been a terror attack, the ambulance services come in, they evacuate the wounded. There were also 6 wounded in the terror attack today. Some of them are severely injured. Would you please pray for that speedy and full recovery for them? But the ambulance service come in, they evacuate the injured, they remove the bodies of the dead, and then they come in and they clean the place. Like today, they come in, they remove the blood splattered on the big posters at that bus stop. We saw they immediately came and replaced the posters, and then life goes back to normal. That's the way it is here in Israel. And by a sheer miracle, a big bus had pulled in, and a lot of people had just gotten on the bus that had left. And then these terrorists arrive in their car, and they get out and they start shooting. But in the video, as I told you before, I shared it on my Telegram channel, you see how people are running in fear, running for their lives. And then you see these brave soldiers and the civilians rushing to the scene against these terrorists and neutralize them. But that's the way it is here in Israel. They come in, they clean, and life goes on. 2 hours later, everything, the roads were open, the bus was coming, people were waiting at the bus stop, but people were there handing out, putting up flags and banners. I want to end this update by saying that what we have known all along is that many of the people working for UNRWA inside the Gaza Strip are Hamas supporters. Probably, 85% of the people working for UNRWA are locals hired inside the Gaza Strip, supporting Hamas, covering for Hamas. That's why you find Hamas tunnel shafts in UNRWA schools, next to UNRWA schools. And now it came out that one of the hostages being released, where was he held? In the attic of an UNRWA teacher. An UNRWA teacher, father of 10 children, was holding an Israeli hostage in his attic, barely giving him anything to eat. UNRWA, that your government has been pouring billions of dollars into to help the poor Palestinian refugees. It's a joke. Another hostage was held captive where? With a doctor, a civilian doctor treating children inside the Gaza Strip was holding an Israeli hostage. So these things are coming out. So they might say that there are civilians in Gaza, but many of them certainly are not innocent civilians. So as far as I have heard now, we still just only have this one day left with the truce. 10 Israelis are coming out. We will see if they're bringing out bodies of victims, either if it's the soldiers or, God forbid, some of the victims have died in captivity. And then we will see if this truce is going to be extended again. There are still more than 150 hostages inside the Gaza Strip, held in a horrific condition. Some of the children said Hamas was threatening us with their gun. If you cry, we shoot you. If you're too noisy, we shoot you. Some of the children now, the hostages coming out, they only whisper. They only whisper. Because if we make too much noise, Hamas is going to shoot us. If we make too much noise, Hamas is going to shoot us. They never had enough food. They are malnourished. Everybody has lost weight. They were sleeping on plastic chairs. They were sleeping on the floor. Never enough food. Some of the hostages from Thailand who was released, they said we were held with some of the Israelis and they were beaten with electric cables. A 12-year-old boy, a lot of the time he was held alone and he was forced to watch the atrocities that Hamas committed. And they said, if you cry, we will shoot you. And they put a gun at his head. Yeah. I don't know what to say. I really don't know what to say. And then today, 3 people was murdered in the streets of Jerusalem. 3 people. Doing nothing except being Jewish, waiting for the bus. And they were literally just executed in the streets. And where is the world's focus? On the innocent civilians in Gaza. Don't hurt the innocent civilians in Gaza. Please share out this video for the world to know the truth. Thank you so much. Bye.